Real numbers, operation rules, opposites, and absolute values. Adding and subtracting integers. Addition rules. If we have a positive integer plus a positive integer, you add and your answer will be positive. If you have a negative integer plus a negative integer, you add and your answer is negative. If you have a positive integer plus a negative integer, you subtract the smaller integer from the larger number and then keep the sign of the larger answer. Subtraction rules. Change minus sign into a plus sign. Change sign of numbers behind the minus sign. Follow addition rules. Okay, so here we are adding a negative number plus a negative number. So my answer is going to be negative. And then we just add the two integers. So 2 plus 5 is 7. So my answer is negative 7. Here we are subtracting. So when we subtract, we change the sign. Then we change the sign after the subtraction symbol. And then we follow the addition rule. Here we have two positive numbers, so our answer is going to be positive, and 3 plus 7 is 10. Okay. So here we are subtracting, so I'm going to change my subtraction to an addition and change the sign after. And then now I'm going to follow my addition rules. So we have one positive and one negative, so we're going to subtract. So what is 8 minus 1? 7. And we keep the sign with the bigger number, 8, so it's going to be negative 7. Then we have negative 7 plus negative 4. We have two negative numbers, so our answer is going to be negative. And 7 plus 4 is 11, so our answer is negative 11. Okay, I have a negative and a positive, so I subtract. So my answer is going to be negative 9 minus 3 is 6. And then I keep the sign of the bigger, so it's going to be negative 3. And then here, we're going to change this to addition and change our sign afterwards. And negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Okay, so here we have a mixed number. In algebra, we do not have answers of mixed numbers, so we need to change this into an improper fraction. So I'm going to multiply my 3 times my 1, and I'm going to take that number and I'm going to add it to my 2. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. So I'm going to have 5 over 3 plus negative 4 over 5. Okay, in order to add fractions, you have to have a common denominator. So I have to find a common denominator of 3 and 5, and that would be 15. So what number do we multiply 3 by to get to 15? 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. What number do we multiply 5 by to get to 15? 3. So what's 4 times 3? 12. Okay, now we're going to follow our addition rule. So we have one positive number and one negative number. So I'm going to subtract. So 25 minus 12 is 13. We keep the sign of the bigger number. So 25 is larger, so it's going to be positive. So it's going to be 15 over 13, or 13 over 15. We are going to leave it as an improper fraction if it was an improper fraction. We would reduce if it could be reduced. So we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to multiply 8 times 3 plus 5. So 24 plus 5 is 29. And then we do the same thing here. 2 times 1 is 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. So 3 over 2. So now I need to find my least common denominator. My least common denominator is 8. So 8 over 29 is going to remain. 2 times 4 is 8, so 3 times 4 is 12. So here, we have subtraction, so remember we're going to change that to addition, and then we're going to change the sign after, so that's going to become a positive. So now I'm going to take either one negative and one positive, so I'm going to subtract. So 29 minus 12 is 17, but we keep the sign of the bigger number. So 29 is larger and it's negative, so it's going to be negative 17 over 8. And see here, we're going to keep this as an improper fraction, and it cannot be reduced. Okay, multiplication and division integers. So when we're multiplying or dividing numbers without regards to the sign, count the number of negative signs in the problem. If there's an even amount of negative signs, the answer is going to be positive. If there's an odd amount of negative signs, the answer is going to be negative. Okay, so here I'm going to count my negative signs as 1, 2, 3. So that is odd, so I know my answer is going to be negative. Now I'm just going to multiply. 10 times 1 is 10. 10 times 5 is 50. 50 times 3 is 150. So my answer is negative 150. Okay, I have an even amount of negative signs, so my answer is going to be positive. Now I'm just going to divide the numbers. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So my answer is 6. Okay, here I have 1, 2, 3 negative signs, so my answer is going to be negative. Okay, then we have 8 times y, which would be 8y. 8y times y would be 8y squared, and 8y times y would be 8y to the third. We could have just counted our number of y's. Okay, first I'm going to turn these mixed numbers into improper fractions. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 6, which is 24. 24 plus 1 is 25, so this is going to become 25 over 6. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 over 3. When we are dividing fractions, we need to keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep our first number, change our sign to multiplication, and flip our second number. So we're going to 25 over 6 times, it's still negative, 3 over 5. Then we multiply straight across. So 25 times 3 is 75, and 6 times 5 is 30. So this is negative because there's only one negative. This can be reduced, so you need to reduce it. I can divide by 15. So my answer is 5 over 2. Okay, let's try some more. So, if we have a fraction bar, it's like a division sign. However, the 2 needs to be divided by all numbers that are on top. So, I have an even amount we have no negative signs, so that's even. So that's going to be positive. So 8x divided by 2 is 4x. And then here we have both positive, so 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, now here, I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to treat this like a division sign and I have to divide both. I have one positive, one negative. So one negative means it's going to be negative. So 12a divided by 3 is going to be 4a, and it'll be negative. Here I have two negatives, so it's going to be positive. So 9b divided by 3 would be 3b. Opposites. Denoted by a negative sign in front of a number or symbol. Examples. So -4, negative in front of a grouping symbol, negative in front of the absolute value, negative in front of a square root or a radical, or negative in front of a number. This means to change the sign of the number. If there is an operation / problem to be done, that must be done before changing the sign. For example, if we need to find the absolute value, we need to find that first and then change the sign. Here we needed to change the radical, so we needed to find the square root of 9, which is 3, and then change that to a -3. So let's try out some examples. So, what is the opposite of -2? So this negative sign up here is telling me the opposite. So what is the opposite of -2? 2. Okay? Here we have, what is the opposite of -7? 7. But what is the opposite of 7? So -7. Here we could have counted the number of signs, 1, 2, 3, odd, and we know it's going to be negative. Okay, so here, the 6 is being squared, not -6, just the 6, because there's not parentheses. So 6 squared is 36, and the opposite of 36 is -36. Now here, there are parentheses around the negative. So this is like -6 times -6, so that would be 2 negatives. So that would make it a positive. So it's going to be a positive 36. Okay, we need to do our operations inside the parentheses first. So remember, we're going to change, if we're subtracting, we're changing it to addition and then changing our sign after. So this is going to become 2 plus 1, which is 3. Then we have the opposite of 3 is -3. Okay, here we're taking 25 and dividing it by 5. There's one negative, so it's going to be negative. So 25 divided by 5 is 5, so that's going to be -5 on the inside. Then we have our opposite of -5, which is 5. Absolute values, denoted by vertical lines around a number or expression. Examples. It is requesting the number of distance from 0 on a number line. Since this means measuring distance, its values must always be positive. The only exception is with the number 0, which is neither positive nor negative. So if we have an absolute value, the inside is always positive. Unless it's a 0, then it's just 0. Okay, so the absolute value of -15 is 15. The absolute value of 9 is 9. Okay, here the absolute value of 1 is 1. However, we have the opposite, so it's going to be -1. Okay, the absolute value of 2 is 2. The absolute value of -3 is 3, and then we need to perform our operations. Remember, we're going to change this to addition and make this a subtraction, or a negative symbol. So then we have one positive, one negative, so we're going to subtract. So 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 is bigger, so it's -1. Okay, so I need to perform this operation first. So I'm going to change this to addition, change the sign after. So this becomes 2 plus 3, which is 5. The absolute value of 5 is 5. Okay, so now we're multiplying 6b times -3b. So 6 times -3 is -18. b times b is b squared. So the absolute value of -18b squared is 18b squared. However, we have a negative on the outside, so it's going to become -18b squared.